A very good morning to everyone. On behalf of DAV PG College Kanpur, in collaboration with Indian Science Congress Association, Kanpur chapter, I, Dr. Charu Chaturvedi, Assistant Professor Botany, DAV PG College Kanpur, take this opportunity to welcome all our guests and participants to this national webinar on the special occasion of International Women's Day as a component of Dr. Nagendra Swarup Memorial Lecture Series on the extremely relevant topic of the times, women's contribution to science and technology. आप सभी को मेरी तरफ से महिला दिवस की ढेर सारी शुभकामनाएं। आज इस उत्सव की केंद्र बिंदु महिलाएं हैं। महिलाओं का महत्व शब्दों में वर्णित करना आसान नहीं है। मजदूरी से लेकर अंतरिक्ष में जाने तक के हर क्षेत्र में वह अपनी योग्यता साबित कर रहे हैं। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला दिवस को आधिकारिक तौर पर पहली बार 1911 में पहचान मिली। इसके बाद 1975 में अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला वर्ष के दौरान यूनाइटेड नेशंस ने अंतर्राष्ट्रीय महिला दिवस 8 मार्च को सेलिब्रेट करना शुरू किया और तभी से यह हर साल इस तारीख पर विश्व स्तर पर मनाया जाता है। महान विद्वान स्वामी विवेकानंद जी के द्वारा कहा गया था कि दुनिया के कल्याण के लिए कोई अवसर नहीं है जब तक कि महिला की स्थिति में सुधार ना हो। पक्षी के लिए केवल एक पंख पर उड़ना संभव नहीं। However, before we begin, in keeping with the traditions of our cultural heritage, we will commence with the virtual lighting of the lamp and invoking of the blessing of Goddess Saraswati. Now, I'll request to Dr. Suren do the needful. सुमधुर वंदना। हमारे प्रेरणा स्रोत स्मृति शेष डॉक्टर नागेंद्र स्वरूप जी, जिनकी छत्र छाया में शिक्षा क्षेत्र का अत्यंत विकास हुआ, आज हम उन्हें स्मरण एवं प्रणाम करते हैं। आप हमसे दूर चले गए, लेकिन आप हमेशा हम सब के दिलों में रहेंगे। सादर नमन है आपको।
पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते।
हमारी परम आदरणीय श्रीमती कुमकुम स्वरूप जी, सेक्रेटरी बोर्ड ऑफ मैनेजमेंट, डीएवी कॉलेज एंड काउंसिल मेंबर ऑफ इसका है। मैडम की प्रेरणा, उनका अमूल्य सहयोग, उनके मार्गदर्शन के बिना यह आयोजन संभव नहीं होता। मैं विनम्र आग्रह करूंगी कि वे सभी सम्मानित अतिथियों का स्वागत करें। प्लीज मैम।
सर्वप्रथम आप सबको महिला दिवस की बहुत बहुत बधाई। आज के इस वेबिनार की मुख्य अतिथि प्रोफेसर नीलिमा गुप्ता जी, कुलपति हरि सिंह गौर विश्वविद्यालय सागर मध्य प्रदेश। विशिष्ट अतिथि डॉक्टर रंजना अग्रवाल जी, निदेशक CSIR निस्केयर। डॉक्टर विजयलक्ष्मी सक्सेना जी, जनरल प्रेसिडेंट इंडियन साइंस कांग्रेस। इनवाइटेड स्पीकर डॉक्टर अपर्णा राय जी, सीनियर साइंटिस्ट सिफरी बैरकपुर। विशेष वक्ता डॉक्टर सुधा यादव, विभागाध्यक्ष रसायन विज्ञान गोरखपुर विश्वविद्यालय। डॉक्टर अशोक कुमार सक्सेना, कन्वीनर इंडियन साइंस कांग्रेस कानपुर चैप्टर। प्रोफेसर अरुण कुमार दीक्षित, प्राचार्य DAV कॉलेज कानपुर। वेबिनार से जुड़े सभी वैज्ञानिक, शोधकर्ता, शिक्षक, शिक्षिकाएं एवं छात्र छात्राएं। बड़े हर्ष का विषय है कि DAV कॉलेज कानपुर के तत्वाधान में इंडियन साइंस कांग्रेस एसोसिएशन कानपुर चैप्टर द्वारा आज एक राष्ट्रीय सेमिनार का आयोजन किया गया है। वेबिनार का विषय है वुमेन्स कंट्रीब्यूशन टू द साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी, जो कि आज के वर्तमान परिदृश्य में सर्वाधिक प्रासंगिक है। आज जीवन के हर क्षेत्र में, विशेषकर भौतिक विज्ञान, रसायन विज्ञान, गणित, जैव प्रौद्योगिकी, चिकित्सा, शिक्षा, अंतरिक्ष विज्ञान, नैनो टेक्नोलॉजी, परमाणु अनुसंधान, पर्यावरण विज्ञान जैसे चुनौतीपूर्ण क्षेत्र में भी महिलाओं ने बढ़ चढ़कर अपनी भागीदारी सुनिश्चित कराई है। अपनी सामाजिक एवं पारिवारिक जिम्मेदारियों के रहते महिलाओं के लिए विज्ञान की इस दुनिया में मुकाम हासिल करना कभी आसान नहीं रहा है, लेकिन महिलाएं सदैव चुनौतियों का सामना करने में भी पीछे नहीं रही हैं। महिला सशक्तिकरण के लिए सरकार द्वारा विज्ञान एवं प्रौद्योगिकी में अपना कैरियर चुनने के लिए महिलाओं को निरंतर प्रोत्साहित किया जा रहा है। विज्ञान और प्रौद्योगिकी के क्षेत्र में लैंगिक असमानता घटाने और महिलाओं का प्रतिनिधित्व बढ़ाने के लिए सरकार निरंतर प्रयत्नशील भी है। इंडियन साइंस कांग्रेस एसोसिएशन कानपुर चैप्टर द्वारा आयोजित आज के इस वेबिनार हमारे छात्र छात्राओं, विशेष रूप से छात्राओं को विज्ञान और तकनीक के क्षेत्र में नई प्रेरणा, नई दिशा प्रशस्त करने में मदद करेंगे, ऐसा मेरा विश्वास है। मैं उपस्थित सभी वैज्ञानिकों, शोधकर्ताओं, शिक्षक, शिक्षिकाओं, छात्र छात्राओं का स्वागत एवं अभिनंदन करती हूँ। आज के इस वेबिनार की सफलता की कामना करती हूँ। थैंक यू सो मच।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मैम। आपकी वाणी सदैव हमें ऊर्जावान बनाती रहती है। धन्यवाद मैम। कार्यक्रम को आगे बढ़ाते हुए मैं चीफ गेस्ट प्रोफेसर डॉक्टर नीलिमा गुप्ता मैम, जो कि वाइस चांसलर डॉक्टर हरि सिंह गौर सागर यूनिवर्सिटी सागर मध्य प्रदेश में है। पूर्व में 2018 से 2021 तक वह वाइस चांसलर CSJM यूनिवर्सिटी कानपुर रही थी। 2014 में उन्हें विज्ञान रत्न एवं 2016 में कई राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर पुरस्कारों से सम्मानित किया जा चुका है। उनके 200 से अधिक शोध पत्र प्रकाशित हो चुके हैं। मैडम अपने अनुभव के प्रकाश से हमें आलोकित करेंगे। ओवर टू यू मैम।
Thank you very much. It is indeed a matter of great pleasure that here I am addressing all of you on the International Women's Day celebration 2022. So at the outset, I would like to wish all of you a very, very happy International Women's Day. This event, which is being organized by DAV PG College Kanpur in collaboration with the Indian Science Congress Association Kanpur chapter, on the topic women's contributions to science and technology, is indeed a very interesting topic, which I'm sure will attract a good number of participants who will be benefited through this webinar. The convener of this program, Dr. Ashok Kumar Saxena, who is the convener of the ISKA chapter, from the Kanpur chapter, Dr. Sudhir Kumar Srivastava, who is the treasurer of ISKA Kanpur chapter, And we have a number of dignitaries here. I cannot forget Mrs. Kumkum Swaroop, who is the Secretary Board of Management from DAV College, Kanpur. And she has always been very active in all academic events, even during my tenure at Kanpur. I saw her participating in all events. So I really feel very honored to see her presence here. And we have very learned guests here who would be delivering their talk. Dr. Ranjana Agarwal, Director of CSIR NISCARE from New Delhi, Dr. Aparna, Senior Scientist from SIFRI Barakpur, Professor Sudha Yadav, who is from DDU Gorakhpur, and above all, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Saxena, who is the General President of ISKA, and she has taken this venture to organize this meet. She is like my elder sister, and she has always been a guiding spirit for me. I know Kanpur by her name only, so I really compliment her for organizing this meet. I cannot forget Nagin Swaroop ji, in whose honor this is being organized, because he has led education to great heights, and he has been working all along for the cause of education. Today, I remember him and appreciate his contributions and pay homage to this noble soul. We'll talking about science and technology and women. In fact, it is a very interesting topic, and I'm sure, can I share my screen if you able it? So I'll just use some slides
Sure,
because this is host has disabled the participant. I think we can move a little faster if
Okay, ma'am. Now you can see her.
okay. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. It is visible.
Okay, okay, fine. So, well, very quickly, I'll go just through the slides because it will be a little easier when we talk about women in science and technology. And over the years, we have seen that women have really played a very important role in science and technology. We can have a look at this aspect from two angles. One is from the international level, and the other is from the national level. So basically, when we talk about women participation in science and technology, we have to link it up with the society, because ultimately it is the society which is going to be benefited. And with these two aspects, that is science and the society and the women. So now it becomes very important that if we look into the society, it is about 50% of the society is forms the society. But do we have that 50% of contribution of the women to the society? So we have to analyze this very carefully. Of course, we recognize it all over the world, but is it true? And what we can do, in fact, to make it true. So now, basically, the problem is that should we have this gender sensitivity issue and take up the 50% intellectual reserve, which remains underutilized in the quest for broadening the horizons of human knowledge? We can have this full knowledge. It can help us in analyzing the issue, and maybe we can move ahead. So if we just have a look at the world initiatives, of course, it is a very wide topic, and narrating these contributions will perhaps be very difficult in this short period. But what we have to do in order to promote science amongst the women is that we have to attract the girls into science. Many a time we see in the families that parents say that science so bahut mushkil hai, isko arts dila do. And basically they feel that our daughter will take up a course in arts, and then she will do a post-graduation in arts, and then we will get her married. But we have to, today when we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, then we have to inculcate this feeling amongst our girl students, amongst our families, that we have to promote the girls into a science career. And we must get these women into the science leadership structure nationally as well as internationally. And we have to, and once these girls, they go to the institution, it is, I would say it is an institutional climate which has to be built up for these girl students. If we look into the world initiatives, like in Europe, ETAN, that is a European Union, it has initiated a study for women in science in 1999, way back. And a special program on women in science started with a view to gender mainstreaming. This was known as ETAN, that is European Technology Assessment Network for Women in Science. And many special programs were set up by the European Commission. The Western world, at least I would say that fraction of the girl students in science at the entry level is very small. And what happens actually is that this difference, that is a fraction of women and men in science and technology, as we go on increasing the position in our hierarchy, this gap also goes on increasing. And it is this what we have to do. We have to decrease this gap at the higher level so that we have good women scientists at the top level also. If we look into the Indian context, then what is the situation in the Indian context? For example, in physics, there is an information available from the Registrar General of India, Ministry of Human Development, which was included in the International Survey of IUPAP India. It is rather high in the list. That is, fraction of women who receive training in science is not small at all at the initial level. I'm talking about the initial level. But what happens if we just look into the data? Now the drop-off factor, it becomes high. These are a few countries where I have tried to compare the data. So where does India stand? We have at the first level, we have about 32% dropout level. And at the PhD level, we have 20% of the dropout level. So it is somewhere in between. If we compare the countries like France, Poland, Norway, and Ukraine, which are higher, and some other countries where UK, US, South Korea, and Japan, where this dropout rate is lower. So I would say that they are having more of women participation in the science program. So now what happens when our students, I'm again talking of the girl students, they complete their PhD in India. So postdoctoral positions and faculty positions. And in fact, data is being collected. Many of the surveys, they are going on right now. But the percentage of women in faculty positions, as compared to universities, the women presence in high profile institutes is smaller. And even there, I would say that the percentage of women in high level positions is yet smaller. So this is there, the gap is there. In Indian Institute of Science, we find only 6% of the full professors, they are women. And IIT and TIFR, etc. also, the situation is not much different. So we have to increase this percentage. The basic concept is that we have to increase this percentage. We have to collect the statistics of participation of women in science. Unless we have this data and we expose the society that this is the situation, that our girls or our women scientists, they are at a much lower level, we cannot take steps to improve it. So we have to encourage the girl students to take up research in science as a vocation and help women get back into research after they take a break. This is very important because it often happens that our girl students, they are going on and they are going for higher studies in science. But once they get into their family life, there is a break and then they're not able to come back. So this reverting back, that is coming back into research after they take a break for the family, that is balancing the career and their family, this is very important. And there are some efforts which are being done. We have to bring a change in the societal attitude, which will encourage pure science career for women. And that famed glass ceiling, this is always said, there is a glass ceiling which women have to break and increase the participation of women in the power structure. So what are the steps we are taking in India? We have scientific organizations and community in India like DST. I think all of us are aware that there is a women's scheme, a special fellowship scheme for women to get back into the research career. Similarly, the National Board of Higher Mathematics, they have also constituted a committee for women in mathematics. And we have in the recommendations of this committee, it is to involve the academies and bodies like IPA. So these are the steps which have been taken taken at the national level. And like INSA, I think senior people here like Dr. Saxena and Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Saxena, they are all aware that like Indian Science, National Science Academy, they have constituted a committee chaired by Dr. Mehtab Bamji to bring about a report on the statistics and status of women in India. And this this task was given to some university, and we had some data. So a database of women in sciences at all levels needs to be created. Like I presented some of the data, like how many of the girl students, they are opting for science. We have to begin at that. Even at the school level, how many are going for graduation, how many are going for PhD, and then how many are going for postdoc, for further research, or for faculty positions. So these figures, they have to be compiled, and we have to implement specific action plans to increase participation of women in Indian science. And there are, I mean, some of the academies, women in science, they have scheduled a page there. So this would, I think we should promote such type of activities where women should come up and their activities should be highlighted in these. So this in current science also, there was an article where we talked about women. So now we are also having experts from diverse fields. It is not only the pure scientists. I must say that social scientists and psychologists also, they have to be involved in the discussion of the working group. So there are agencies which are coming up, and we have conferences, we have seminars. So a session, if maybe in all the science conferences, we have a special session on women in science, they should become a regular feature. We can promote women in science that way. So we have to, that I've already talked about, how we have to change the mindset of the parents of a girl. So we have to make a model program made after the name of some of the famous women fellows, which I think would act as a stimulating factor. We can also have books and reading material. There are some books, I must say, which talk about the biographical sketches of eminent women scientists. So they are boosters. They would stimulate our girl students that we also can become like them. Like the theme for this International Women's Day is break the bias. So why can't more and more women can come up and break this bias? So we can have workshops on women in science. We can have more of funding support, and we should have policies which can take women-friendly practices higher in campuses, and make working conditions for women more amicable by having creche on every campus, by accommodation close to the campus, and there can be proactive measures in hiring policies. So and part-time jobs should be more available for women who cannot even give more time. So we can, we do have problems if we try to compare the problems in India and other countries. So we can compare some of our problems to some of the countries, but in some ways our country is better, in some ways it is not so good. So it is most important is that we have to bring about a change in the social attitudes, but some policy changes are also required too. So efforts are being made, I must say, but I think we have to go ahead, and women with their intelligence and determination, that is what we have to today decide. You know, we have a determination, and those women who had a determination, they definitely have to, they have made their mark in the society. So I am sure that more and more women will come up. And just talking about very quickly some of the famous women scientists at the international and national level who have made their mark. Nobel Prize, Madame Curie also, I am reminded, who got 2 Nobel Prizes, and her daughter also. So that is, she was also a woman. Her daughter was also a woman. Elizabeth, who studied the telomere in the chromosomes. Linda B. Buck, who studied the olfactory system. All these women, they have made a mark in science. Martha, who was an American geneticist, she also made, she was from Ohio. We had Franklin, who was a biophysicist. Nicole Carrier Phyllis, she was from Germany, and basically from Greek origin. We had Stevens, who was again an American geneticist, and Turner, marine biologist. So there are many fields where women have made a mark. What about Indian women? They are no less. Here you see the picture. They're all scientists who had made a mark in India. Anandibai Joshi, who was one of the first Indian women doctors who qualified to practice in Western medicine. Janaki Ammal, I am closely associated because I got this award. She was a famous botanist, and in her name, the Ministry of Environment has constituted an award in taxonomy, in botany, in zoology, and in microbiology. So she's also very famous, and she's living today in the form of this award, which is being given every year. We have Kamala Sohani, who did 3 major groups of food items. She studied on nutrition. And here we have Anna Mani, who was a meteorologist and Deputy Director General of the Indian Meteorological Department, an honorable position indeed. Asima Chatterjee, who was a chemist. We have Rajeshwari Chatterjee, who is known for microwave engineering. When it came into practice, today we are all familiar with microwave. It is this woman who brought microwave for us. Darshan Ranganathan, protein folding and supramolecular assemblies and synthesis of nanotubes. Today, all research is being done on nanotubes, but there was a woman behind it. Maharani Chakravarti, who studied on recombinant DNA technology. Again, a woman. She worked in USA also and contributed a lot to our country also. Another scientist, Chaurista Chakravarti, again a chemist, and she got the Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize. Now we also have to see how many of the women are getting these national awards. What is their number? Just Rika, do we have any data? So we have to study all these and promote our women to reach at that leadership position in science. Mathematics, Vishwanath Parvati Gokhale Award. She is known for her contributions in mathematics. Tessie Thomas, Missile Woman of India. I think no field has been left unturned by women, but only the problem is that the number of women is less. So we must have our own decision. If we have this, these are the women who have broken the bias, which we say, and we have to have more and more of these women. And how we can do it? We must have decision-making power of our own. We must have access to information and resources for taking proper decision and have positive thinking. कई बार क्या होता है कि हम लोग निराश हो जाते हैं, हम नहीं कर पाएंगे. So why is it that we will not be able to do it? So we must have that positive type of thinking, and above all, we must learn the skills for improving our own skills and our power. And definitely we are going to become empowered. What is it we say? Women empowerment. Women are already empowered. We see their contribution in science and technology in India, all over the world. So this experience, strength, and success in comforting, inspirational, real stories, but real women, if we narrate these stories to our young scientists, I'm sure that they'll be stimulated. So this empowerment or training of these women in science and technology is not simply a goal in itself, but key to all global development goals. So we have to move in this direction. There is no tool for effective development than empowerment of women, because they are an equal workforce for the country. So women's empowerment, they strive in science and technology. I do hope that this seminar, which has been arranged, will stimulate a power of encouragement and take them higher in the areas of science and technology. I once again wish you all a very, very happy International Women's Day. And I thank you for inviting me to this webinar and giving me an opportunity to express my views on women in science and technology. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable suggestions and analysis too. Thank you so much, ma'am. And we will continue with the program. It's my proud privilege and honor to welcome our special guest, Dr. Ranjana Agrawal, ma'am, Director CSIR, NISCARE, New Delhi. She is actively collaborating with scientists of USA, Spain, and Ireland. Her research contributions have been acknowledged in the form of awards. As an accomplished academician, she has been nominated as a member of the National Monitoring Committee for Minorities Education by MHRD, New Delhi. She has also been granted a research grant by the Haryana State Council for Science and Technology to develop new leads to treat cancer by targeting DNA. So over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Nilima Gupta, Kulpati, Dr. H.S. Gaur University, Sagar, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Saxena, General President, Indian Science Congress Association, Dr. Kumkum Swarup, Secretary, Board of Management, DAV College, Kanpur, Dr. Ashok Saxena, former President, Indian Science Congress Association and Convener, Kanpur Chapter, ISKA, my distinguished fellow speakers on the panel, faculty of the DAV College, Kanpur, and dear students. First of all, I would like to wish you a very happy International Women's Day. And I would like to congratulate the ISKA chapter Kanpur and the Dayanand Anglo-Vedic College for taking this initiative jointly to hold a dialogue on women's contribution to SNT. Professor Gupta started, the tagline, looking back and moving ahead, that captured my attention. So I start from looking back. If I look back from Indian perspective, since the Vedic times, I believe the women has contributed to science. They have contributed to philosophy, they have contributed to literature, grammar, everything. But two women scientists I would like to mention here because we are looking back. One is Lilavati, who was a great mathematician, daughter of Bhaskaracharya II. And the father-daughter have conversations in which they talked about mathematical problems. And Bhaskaracharya II named one of her grantha after his daughter's name, Lilavati. And very recently, Daughters of Lilavati by Dr. Rohini Godbole and Dr. Ram Ramaswamy, capturing the autobiography of more than 100 women scientists is kind of a dedication to Lilavati. The second name which comes to me, again from the Vedic time, is Khana. She was daughter-in-law of Varamhir. She was an astronomer. She was a mathematician. And legend says that her calculations were so accurate that she was threat to Varamhir. So then there was a kind of lull, a kind of gap, where there may be several reasons. So let's not discuss those several reasons today. But there were several reasons that when women were, put behind the walls, the doors to formal education were closed on her. But, pre-independence period, I think, was the Renaissance period where women education took the forefront. Many social reformers, your college is also like Dayanand, Swami Dayanand was one of the reformer, and Raja Ram Mohan Rai, Baba Saheb Bhimrao Ambedkar, Jyotiba Phule, Savitribai Phule, and there is a long list of reformers who worked for the women education. So, and women participated in the freedom struggle too. So they became visible in the, Indian scenario. And after the independence, the women got a formal education almost to everyone. People coming from my generation knows that that time even in small towns, the schools were open to girls, and we basically grew to the higher educations and, different diverse fields of science and technology too. But somehow when we look at, Dr. Nilima Gupta gave the data that when it comes to graduation level, science graduates, India is at number 1. So it's a very promising situation, very encouraging situation. But when it comes to profession, scientific profession and career, India ranks 18. So that needs retrospection, introspection, like what are the factors which are restricting women's entry into career opportunities where we are losing our bright young science graduates in the whole stream. And we must look at the factors which are restricting those women's. These factors can be structural factors. These can be social factors, patriarchal mindset, gender stereotyping, segregation of roles, what women has to do, what men has to do. And I think this gender stereotyping roles have also created imbalance into the society, particularly in the science and technology, because from the very childhood, when they are in the primary school, a kind of fear is inculcated in our young girls that science is not for women.
Ma'am, please unmute.
Yeah, thank you. I hope I was not mute for a very long time. So I was talking about the factors, whether they were structural factors or cultural or social factors or personal factors, because we also understand that women scientists has to devote longer periods of stay in the institutions as compared to social sciences. I'm not undermining social sciences, but we know as the experimentalist, we have to stay longer in the labs. We have to go in the fields for our experiments. So it is more time demanding and it's more intensive as compared to social sciences. So therefore, women opt not to go for science and technology in the higher education systems, because this time is also conflicting with their biological clock. That's the same time when they have to nurture the family, raise the children, and that's the time when they are entering into the professional life, and we lose so many women. So we must have empathetic policies so that these women can be brought back to the mainstream. And then the personal factors I would like to, because these are intrinsic factors, and here women themselves are, can play a very active role. They sometimes when they are in the family things and when they are under the social cultural pressure, they lose that kind of self-esteem. They become fearful of their, counter male colleagues, because science is very competitive, and women are not ready to take failures. So they are happy whatever is given to them. They are happy for the school jobs or something like that, not going for the R&D positions. And similarly, leadership position is also a challenge, because we have not created role models, enough women role models for our young girls to emulate that. If we look at our curriculum of the, what we teach in the schools and in the colleges, somehow we have omitted the information on or by women to our young girls. I will take only two examples of Western world. Everybody knows about Alexander Fleming, because he was the one who discovered penicillin, first antibiotic, got the Nobel Prize, everything. But how many of us know that Alexander Fleming invented penicillin in 1920? It was only in 1942, after 18 years, that the first civilian got the dose of penicillin. The reason was it was very difficult to produce so much of penicillin to be available for the civilian society. It was only Margaret Hutchinson, an American chemical engineer, who first time commercially produced penicillin plant and produced 2 million doses of penicillin. So, this kind of information about women, we are not giving to our students. We are not telling our young girls what kind of role models could be there. Similarly, Dr. Nilima Gupta mentioned about Rosalind Franklin. Everybody knows about Watson and Crick when it comes to DNA. But how many of our young girls know that it was Rosalind Franklin who gave the X-ray structure working at Imperial College London, and sharing that information to Watson and Crick, they provided the double helical model. So, information about our women scientists have not been disseminated to the masses in the way it should have been. I'm very glad that now we are becoming very aware of this fact. And I think the days like International Women's Day, International Day for Women and Girls for Science, etc., they are creating these awakening. And last year, Ministry of Women and Child Development established 11 chairs in the name of women scientists. We have seen the names of those scientists in the previous presentation. So, these are basically our role models for the young girls to get aspired. One thing I would like to say, when we say that more women should be in science for the empowerment of women, I would say we should need more women in science to empower science. Because women have very different problems which men cannot understand. And when you do not understand the problem, you will not work on those problems. For example, seasickness. Seasickness was never considered an ailment or disease or a medical issue. But once a medical doctor was on the sea, on the ship, he raised this issue that it's a medical problem. So similarly, if women are there, they will be talking about their health issues, menstruation, female hygiene, education problems, and so many problems. So I think it is a win-win situation when equal number of women are participating in the science and technology program. Women will be empowered. At the same time, science will be empowered. Another domain of women which I would like to mention is of those women scientists who have not been trained in the formal way. These are our tribal and rural women. They have not achieved formal education. They have not gone to labs and carried out experiments. But through their experiential learning on the field, they have developed themselves better than the scientists. To name a few, Papa Mal, who is more than 100-year-old, introduced organic farming in 1970. And still at the age of 105, she does farming on her own and train thousands of people in organic farming and telling about the harmful impact of insecticides. So this is like protecting environment. Similarly, Lakshmi Kuti Amma, she is 80 years old. She has learned the value of traditional knowledge, traditional medicinal knowledge, and she is known to heal the poisons through the herbs which are produced in the forest. Similarly, Rahi Bai Soma Popore, he is known as Seed Mother. She is a farmer and conservationist. She has the knowledge, extraordinary understanding of crop diversity. She is engaged in protecting our native varieties of crops. So these are the women who are scientists, so they should also be acknowledged. They can be our role models too. And I'm very glad the government of India recognizing the achievements of women very significantly, giving them the Padma Shris, Padma Bhushnas, because I think these awards are also very important because they highlight them into the society and we create role models. Gender stereotyping is weakening. I'm very glad the young girls, they know their potential. They have very high hopes and aspirations for themselves, and society is also changing. So I think together with the government, with the society, and with our individual efforts, we can create a world which is a better place, not only for women, but for the mankind. Because this year's title, we are saying gender equality today and future sustainability in the next generations. So I think if women are empowered, women are coming more and more into science and technologies, working on the issues which are responsible for our climate change, for environment, for biodiversity, I think we will be having a better world. Thank you very much once again. And I would like to acknowledge Indian Science Congress Association. I'm associated with it for the last 15 years or so. And I think this is a wonderful association of scientists, which is dedicated for the science popularization, science communication, inculcating scientific temperament, and bringing all the best brains of not only India, but from the international world at a common platform to take the science forward. So my highest regards to Dr. Ashok Saxena, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Saxena, for steering the vehicle so well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your encouragement to all women. Thank you very much. Recognized by all of us as the woman of substance, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Saxena ma'am, the General President of the Indian Science Congress Association, with this honor, she who has been 2021 the second woman in ISC's 107 years history to hold this prestigious post. Over to you, ma'am.
Very good morning to you all. Hearty congratulations to all this International Women's Day. Proud to be a woman. Good wishes to all of you. Spread the light of our positivity words of wisdom for the sustainable future of young ones. Professor Nilima Gupta ji, Vice Chancellor, Dr. H.S. Gaur, University Sagar, MP, Chief Guest of today's function. Mrs. Kumkum Sarup, Secretary Board of Management, DAV College Kanpur, and our council member of ISCA, Professor Ranjana Agarwal, Director CSIR, NISCAR, New Delhi, and also Sectional President, Chemical Sciences of Indian Science Congress Association, Dr. Aparna Roy, Senior Scientist, CIFRI, Central Indian Fishery Research Institute, Barakpur, West Bengal, Professor Sudha Yadav, Head of the Department Chemistry, DDU Gorakhpur, University Gorakhpur, Professor Arun Kumar Dikshit, Principal, DAV College Kanpur, Dr. Sudhir Srivastava, Treasurer, ISCA Kanpur Chapter, Dr. D.P. Rao, Department of Chemistry, DAV College Kanpur, Coordinator of the program, all the committee members, members of the faculty, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, and media personnel. I feel privileged to have been granted the opportunity to express my views on International Women's Day. First of all, I like to salute Mrs. Sarup for taking all the tasks in a very challenging manner. Today, we all are here is due to the initiatives taken by late Dr. Nagin Sarup, and due to his efforts only, our Sansthan is being known globally. I wish to thank Dr. Sudhir Srivastava, Treasurer, ISCA Kanpur Chapter, for inviting me for this special day to share my views with you all. I am grateful to Dr. Arun Kumar Dikshit, Principal, DAV College, for giving all the facilities for the successful conduction of this webinar. Theme for International Women's Day is Gender Equality for a Sustainable Tomorrow. Dear colleagues, coming to the theme, women's contribution to the science and technology. History is the witness that science has been gender neutral, yet the contribution of women for science and technology could never come to the fore, and that males remain dominating the scientific stream. Very few women are inducted in various national science academies or in decision-making positions in such establishment. Now the pertinent issue is that how should we make science stream in the country more inclusive by encouraging the participation of women scientists, which is vital for country's sustainable future development. Though women have contributed enormously to science from ancient times, there is a need to tap their potential as innovators, implementers of innovation, in addition to being beneficiaries of innovation. We derive pride in remembering Merit-Pita, who served Greece as chief physician around 2700 BC. She is believed to be the earliest female scientist. In medieval and modern times too, there have been many frontline women scientists of the caliber of Marie Curie, Maria Mayer, Dorothy Hodgkin, Gertie Curie, Rosalind Yellow, Barbara McClintock, Rita Montesini, Gertrude Fellinian, Christine Vollard, and Zinda Buck of modern science. But when I look at the list of Nobel Prize awardees, I get a bit disheartened the Nobel Prize and Prize in Economic Sciences have been awarded to women 44 times between 1901 and 2012 of them. Maria Curie was honored once with the 1903 Nobel Prize in Physics and then with the 1911 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Thus, a total of only 43 women have been awarded the Nobel Prize between 1901 and 2012. Of them, only 15 women scientists have been awarded Nobel Prizes. 28 others have got it in economics and for peace. If we look at India, we are delighted to learn of the grandeur of Maitri Gargi and the Vedic Rishikas of ancient Bharat. Even though there were only a few well-known women leaders of science in India, those with outstanding scientific achievements are indeed very large in number in almost every field of science. During 12th century, great mathematician Lilavati enriched the image of a country in a global arena. If we compare the scenario in post-independence India, some interesting facts are visible. In 1975, the number of women engineers were limited to 600, but according to an estimate, presently this number has crossed 9,06,785 in 2020. In 1950, only 50 women were able to got PhD degree in science. Now, number of women PhD holder in science in India has more than 76,111 in 2020. We understand that throughout these years, India has progressed very well in all aspects of development with the contribution of dedicated scientists and technologists. India is politically independent and is fast progressing as economically independent. India also needs to be technologically independent. Universities, technical institutions, national laboratories, and scientific agency of the country have significant opportunities to contribute. In spite of all these scientific and technological developments, there is a large lacuna in inclusive growth of a country. A large part of our population is deprived of getting the benefits of our achievements. The problem of social inequality exists very widely in our country. We understand that in a society, inequality is multi-phased in nature. There is inequality in income, but there is also inequality in educational attainment, health status, employment, access to food, access to water, access to social security, and in general, access to opportunities and choices. These different aspects of inequality are interlinked. Improved access to water and sanitation may help to reduce inequality in health issues. Improved educational attainment may help people find better jobs and reduce the inequality in employment and income and so on. Today, Kalpana Chawla and Sunita Williams are household inspirations. These are all results of innovative scheme and inspirations. Similarly, the launching of the Women's Science Scheme to attract more women for science and research, the Ministry of Science and Technology has succeeded in encouraging and retaining quite a large number of women scientists. Thousands get fellowship under the scheme. Under the Curie program, many universities have been benefited. Now I'm going to tell you there are 10 iconic women in Indian science. Maybe some of them are the repetition of the previous speakers, Mrs. Gupta and Professor Ranjana Agarwal. Kamala Sode, 1939, first female director of the Institute of Science, Bombay. Janaki Ammal, 1957, Indian botanist and was awarded the Padma Shri in 1977. Rajeshwari Chatterjee, 1960, first woman engineer from Karnataka. Professor Ashima Chatterjee, 1961. She was the first woman to be awarded a Doctorate of Science by an Indian university. She made significant contribution in the field of medicinal chemistry and was awarded the Padma Bhushan in 1975. And my friend, she was the first female general president of Indian Science Congress Association during 1975.
टीचर बोल दिए हैं कि मैम अब सेमेस्टर 4 पढ़ाइए, अब सेमेस्टर 3 खत्म.
Kamal Ranadev, 1982, renowned Indian biomedical researcher, got award in the field of leprosy. Aditi Pant, 1983, well-known oceanographer, achieved Antarctica Award. Anna Mani, 1987, known for her work on atmospheric physics. Darshan Ranganathan, 1999, known for her work in bioorganic chemistry. Usha Barwala Zahar, 2000, Director and Chief Technology Officer at Maharashtra Hybrid Seed Company. Tessie Thomas, 2012, first Indian woman to have headed a missile project, earning her nickname as Missile Lady. Great scientists like Professor Archana Sharma, who was also General President of Indian Science Congress Association during 1987. Professor Manju Sharma, GP Indian Science Congress 1999. Professor Geeta Bali, GP Indian Science Congress during 2012, and other scientists, Professor Indra Nath, Professor Anandibai Joshi, Professor Kasturi Datta, Professor Shipra Guha Mukherjee, and Dr. Sneh Bhargava did tremendous job for society in their field. This reflects the power of women. One of the best examples of women empowerment in India is Kiran Mazumdar Shaw, Dr. Savitribai Phule, Jhansi Ki Rani, Indira Gandhi, Kiran Bedi, Malala Yousafzai are some of them. There are a long list of names, but I have taken only few of them. The print in its issue of 7th April 2020 has reported that nearly 120 million Indian women, equal to the entire population of Japan, have at least a secondary education, but they do not participate in the workforce. As we need skilled workers urgently, their absence is deeply felt. If even half of this group of women entered the workforce in one stroke, the share of workers with at least a secondary education would jump from 33% to 46%, which will be equivalent of 15 years worth of improvement. This alone could add about rupees 30 trillion, $440 billion to India's GDP. For detailed discussion and highlighting the issue, Science and Technology for Sustainable Development with Women Empowerment has been chosen as the focal theme for the 108 Science Congress to be held in January 2023. To conclude with very important issue that we don't want a man-dominating world, nor we want a feministic world, but we want more equal world, more humanistic world, a gender-free world. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Thank you one and all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You are always a role model for us. Thank you. Now our next esteemed invited speaker is Dr. Aparna Roy, ma'am, Senior Scientist, Central Inland Fisheries Research Institute, Extension and Training Cell, working on gender mainstreaming for last 11 years. Nutritional security of the vulnerable community is now a major focus and have prepared a roadmap to establish model Nutri-Smart Village in Deltaic Sundarban. Presently leading a DBT-sponsored women empowerment project with the objective to empower women of wetland-dependent community. Now, I invite Dr. Aparna Rai, ma'am, for her speech. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your introduction, for introducing me. Good morning, everyone. Respected Dr. Ashok Kumar Saxena, Convener, ISCA Kanpur Chapter, Dr. Vijayalakshmi Saxena, Madam, General President, ISCA, Mrs. Kumkum Swarup, Secretary, BOM, DAV College, Kanpur, Dr. Sudhir Kumar Srivastava, Treasurer, ISCA Kanpur Chapter, Professor Nilima Gupta, Vice Chancellor, Dr. H.S. Gaur University, Sagar, MP, Dr. Ranjana Agarwal, Director, CSIR, New Delhi, Professor Sudha Yadava, HOD Chemistry, DDU, Gorakhpur University, Gorakhpur, Professor Arun Kumar Dixit, Principal, DAV College, Kanpur. I am indeed fortunate and highly encouraged to get the opportunity to participate in the webinar that is entitled as Women Contribution to Science and Technology on the occasion of International Women's Day. Respected dignitaries, honored guests, esteemed participant, the day is a bit different from the other day because the day is for the women. Women are the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world, and empowerment is a process of personal and social change through which women can gain power, meaningful choices, and control over their lives. Empowerment is not just something that we can do for or to a woman. Women are the change agents of their empowerment. This year, the theme of International Women's Day is Gender Equity Today for Sustainable Tomorrow. This gender equity is fundamentally connected to sustainable development of any country. It is necessary at all stages, at all levels of policies, projects, and programs. In fact, gender equity is the goal where the gender mainstreaming should be the strategy. In the context of developmental activities, governance, gender equity is vital as women and men are facing different challenges in their working sector. In the field of fisheries, women often face challenges for full participation, representation, and even for getting decent work opportunities. As I am from Inland Open Water Fisheries Research Management, so I will talk about the women who are behind the men or with the men to earn their livelihood. I will talk about a bit about the women of fishermen community who are belonging to the lower stratum of our society. Actually, we can say that women of the fishermen community are performing three roles: production role, reproduction role, as well as community role. Now, what is production role they are performing? They're collecting seeds from the rivers and estuaries. They're catching the fishes. They're collecting seed. They're processing and marketing, as well as they are also mending the nets, repairing nets and gears, helping their counterparts for preparing for fishing trips, loading, unloading of the fishes, shorting of the fishes, fish drying. This type of things we can categorize as their production role. Whereas women involved in the household activities, other income generation activities and activities they're doing in their spare time, we can categorize them as their reproduction role. And community role, the woman comprises their degree of participation in community events that help them in gaining knowledge and information, leading their way to empowerment is their community role. But in inland fisheries activities, women are actively participating, but very few data is available that women are actively participating in inland open water activities, and they are also facing enormous challenges like most of them are illiterate or have very low education. They are having very poor health and sanitation. They are most of the time they are also having their domestic problem. They are getting affected by domestic violence. They are also having so much socio-cultural taboos, as most of the cases they are illiterate. They have lack of access and control over the resources. They are unable to participate in the most of the community programs. They have lack of decision-making power, poor diet, etc. Actually, they are bounded with enormous types of problems, and this demand a special attention from the researcher as well as the policymaker and from the developing agency. Empowering this marginalized section of the society is the only gateway to mobilize them higher along the socioeconomic ladder. So we are also trying, we as CIFRI are conducting several extension activities as well as capacity building activities, and to some extent we are also giving them inputs to support in their livelihood. Gender equity and women empowerment is fundamental rights to all women and girls. Therefore, there is an urgent need to ensure equitable access to various resources and facilities, financial as well as decision-making liberty, and subsequently, it will resolve the gender inequalities among fisherfolk communities and in the field of other developmental fields as well. So thank you. Thank you, everyone. In every role of life, she has the eternal strength to humanity. So, my compliments and best wishes to all the women with beautiful mind. Happy Women's Day. And I would like to congratulate the Dayanand Anglo-Vedic PG College and Indian Science Congress Association Kanpur chapter for organizing this webinar successfully. And I am also very much thankful to Dr. Ashok Kumar Saxena sir and Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Saxena madam, General President ISCA, for inviting me for this webinar. Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your great speech for women empowerment. Thank you. Now, I will call our special speaker, Dr. Sudha Yadav, ma'am, HOD Chemistry, Deen Dayal Upadhyay, Gorakhpur University, Gorakhpur. Her area of interest is inorganic chemistry, coordination chemistry, enzyme catalysis. She has published several research articles and books and book chapters. And also she is also engaged with a lot of social activities as Secretary, Gorakhpur University, Women Welfare Association, etc. Now, over to you, Sudha Yadav, ma'am.
Thank you, Charu madam. Very good morning to all of you. And I would like to congratulate all the participants as well as the members, esteemed guests on this International Women's Day. The topic which I would also like to congratulate Professor Nilima Gupta madam for delivering such a nice talk on this occasion. Mrs. Kumkum Swaroop, Council Member of ISCA, Secretary Board of Management, Dr. Ranjana Agrawal, Director CSIR, NIST Care, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Saxena, General Secretary ICA, Dr. A.K. Saxena, convener of this international seminar, Dr. Ranjana Agrawal, Director CSIR, Dr. Aparna Roy, a young scientist who has just delivered a very encouraging talk about the women in fisheries. And I would also like to thank Dr. Arun Kumar Dikshit, Principal DAV College Kanpur. Today's topic is women's contribution in science and technology. I would like to request the host to allow me to share the screen.
Sure.
Thank
Now you can share, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Please allow the second device to share the screen. Actually, I have two devices.
Okay. Ma'am. On which name?
Dr. Sudha Yadav, Professor Sudha Yadav. Thank you, madam. Can I share the screen now?
Just wait. Okay, ma'am, you can share now.
Thank you, ma'am. So now, while discussing women's contribution, I think most of the part has been covered by our esteemed invited speakers, Professor Nilima Gupta Madam, Dr. Ranjana Agarwal and Dr. Kumkum Sarup, as well as Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Saxena. But few, I would like to share the screens. First, the importance of science and technology. Actually, this is the phenomenal process in science and technology across the globe that is responsible for economic and societal developments. The massive efforts are called for, especially in developing world, to intensify the scientific research, application, and commercialization of intellectual property. Now, what is the role of women in science and technology? Science and technology, innovations, and discoveries in all nations can be strengthened through the greater participation of women. Obviously, since the women are of almost half of this whole world population. So that matters the most. Now, the full inclusion of women in science and technology actually endures, and it ensures many leadership positions for them also, for which we are lacking in our today's society. Now, when women constitute half of the humanity,
I request Dr. Anil Kumar Soni, please unmute. Dr. Anil Kumar Soni, please mute yourself.
Yet, the number in mathematics, physics, science, physical sciences, engineering, etc., the number of women participation is very low. Also, these professional women seldom reach to the pinnacle of the hierarchy in academic and research institutions. Now, it has to be ensured that a people-centric sustainable development is devised so that we ensure women's equal access to science and technology, education, training, economic resources, information, communication, as well as the marketing. Now, utilizing the talents of women should not be viewed only from the perspective of gender equality, because it must be understood that full involvement of women in scientific and technological efforts is today very essential for rapid economic development and sustainable happiness. Voices that now here I would like to quote James Padilla, who was the Ford Motor Company director in year 2005, that voices that are silenced or ignored for whatever reason, they represent not only an injustice, but also a valuable resource that has been wasted, a tragic waste of human capital. Here, I would like to show a chart about the percentage of women in the area of science and technology. In this bar diagram, we are seeing that in year 2015-16, it was almost 40% in physical sciences. However, in the year 2018-19, it is up to 43%. Similarly, for mathematical sciences, the data is not so very promising. It is almost 39 and 38%. For engineering and tech, it is 15 to 16%. And for computer science, it is very not so promising, as it is 15 and 16% for the year 2015-16 as well as 2018. Another slide I would like to share here is men and women in the field of science and technology. From the year 2015,
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. Ma'am, you are host. Please unmute all the participants. You are host now, ma'am.
Is it okay, madam? Charu madam?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. So while comparing this in the year 2016, the percentage of women in the field of science and technology was about 21%. However, there is no such increase in 2019. It is 24% only. So now, since women are the vital human resource pillar of world economy, and they have contributed almost in every sphere of life, now, whether it may be social, political, educational, business, or economic, but in the field of science and technology, they comprise very small in number. Here, the contribution of women in science and technology at international and national level have been discussed in the upcoming slides. However, our previous speakers have almost taken most of the prominent scientists as well as the technologists of our era. So I would like to summarize few of them. First of all, I would like to mention about Jennifer Doudna, the American biochemist. She was awarded Nobel Prize in 2020 along with French microbiologist Emmanuel Carpentier for their development of CRISPR, that is the cluster regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. This is a technology which can be used to edit genes. It works by the action of a protein called Cas9, which has sliced mutated DNA. The CRISPR-Cas9 system has the ability to recognize a particular DNA sequence, and this locates the DNA sequence of interest by attaching to an RNA sequence that matches the DNA sequence prior to be edited. After the mutated DNA is cut, the correct version of the gene can be substituted in for all the cell to work. This technique can be used in human therapeutics to agriculture applications, and it is widely celebrated as having profoundly changed biomedical research. Next, in this, I would like to refer about Maria Koppert-Mayer, who was a German immigrant to US, and she studied at Johns Hopkins during the Great Depression. Maria was not employed in any university, but she went to become chemical physicist, and her most famous contribution to modern physics is discovering the nuclear shell of the atomic nucleus, for which she won the Nobel Prize in 1963. About Rachel Carson, as it was referred by a previous speaker, she was an environmental scientist and she became the central to American politics, culture, and foreign policies as well. Her book Silent Spring warned of the dangers of pesticides and chemicals to humans, plants, and animals, and was a landmark in the nation's environmental history. Regarding the Asian scientists, I would like to mention about two. She is a Chinese pharmaceutical chemist and malariologist. Following a breakout of malaria in North Vietnam in 1967, there was a call to China to find a cure of chloroquine-resistant malaria. And UU studied ancient Chinese medical texts and identified a compound in wormwood that would be used to treat malaria called artemisinin. UU discovery has saved more than 3 million lives since 2000. In year 2015, she became the first Chinese scientist to receive a Nobel Prize in scientific category. Now, moving back in the history, I would like to refer about one more female scientist, Ada Lovelace. She was the Countess of Lovelace, originally named Augusta Ada Byron, Lady Byron, and was an English mathematician. She became interested in Babbage machine as early as in 1833, where she was introduced to Babbage by their mutual friend, and she most notably in 1843 came to translate and annotate an article written by Italian mathematician and engineer Logi-Fedro Manovra, Notions sur la machine intellectuelle de Charles Babbage, 1842, that is the elements of Charles Babbage's analytical machine. Her detailed and elaborate annotations, especially her description of how the proposed analytical engine could be programmed to computer Bernoulli numbers, were excellent. The analytical engine, she said, weaves algebraic patterns just as the Jacquard loom weaves the flowers and leaves. Babbage only built a small part of analytical engine, but Love's efforts have been remembered. The early programming language Ada actually was named after her. Then I would like to refer about Grace Rester Mary Hopper. She was an American computer scientist of United States Navy Rear Admiral, one of the first programmers of the Howard Mark first computer. She was pioneer of computer programming who invented one of the first linkers. She received her master's degree in 1930 and PhD 1934 in mathematics from Yale. Hopper is best known for her trailblazing contributions to the development of computer language. Adlai Goldberg, she is also a computer scientist. She was one of the creators of Smalltalk 80, a programming language, while working at Xerox Palo Alto Research Center. In 1988, Adlai co-founded Park Play System. By then, Smalltalk 80 has been applied to different software and Park Play systems, provided development tools for companies behind this software. She was chairperson and president of company until 1995, when it merged with DigiTalk. Steve Jobs demanded to see a demonstration of Smalltalk 80, which she reluctantly gave him. Jobs and his team at Apple then incorporated Smalltalk 80 into programming configuration of Macintosh computers. There are many names here, such as Katherine Johnson. She was also American mathematician. Her work helped to send astronauts. Then Elizabeth Jocelyn. She is an internet and computer information scientist. For decades, she worked at Stanford Research Institute, SRI. She was the director of Network Information Systems Center, where she managed the Network Information Center for ARPANET, that is the Defense Data Network and Internet. Fenler is responsible for the current domain names such as .com, .gov, .org, as her group manages the host naming registry for the Internet. Now, again, moving back, I would like to refer about Elizabeth Blackwell. She was British-born scientist known for first woman to earn a medical degree, MD degree in US. She was raised in forward-thinking, socially active family. She received hostility. First of all, she received hostility from her fellow students, eventually earning their respect and graduating first in the class 1849. In 1857, she opened the New York Infirmary for Women and Children along with her sister. Dr. Emily Blackwell is the third woman to earn an MD, and Dr. Mary Jarquesca Blackwell played an important role in both the United States and the United Kingdom as a social awareness and moral reformer, and promoted education for women in medicine through her inspirational book, pioneer work in opening the medical profession to women. Marie Curie, she is a renowned physicist as well as chemist. She earned a Nobel Prize in Physics in 1903 and yet another in chemistry in 1911, and being the only woman to have been honored twice. Curie Institute in Paris, she founded in 1920, and it is still a major cancer research institute in the world. Gertrude Corey, another Nobel Prize winner, she earned the prestigious award for her work in medicine physiology in 1947. Corey was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize in this category. She worked with her husband, Carl Ferdinand Corey, with whom she shared an interest in preclinical science to prove vital concept in genetics. Their work led to discovery that an enzyme deficiency could be responsible for metabolism disorder. They also carried out multiple studies on the action of hormones, focusing on pituitary gland. Over her lifetime, Gertie won several other awards in recognition for her contribution to science and earned honorary degree of Doctor of Science from Boston University, Smith College, Yale, Columbia, and Rochester between the year 1948 to 1955. Here, few more international scientists, Gertrude Belle-Elian, Rosalind Franklin, they are also eminent scientists of their fields, about whom I would like to skip. Rosalind Yalow, also an American medical physicist. She has actually worked on HIV and hepatitis, and later the method developed by her allowed the scientists to prove that type 2 diabetes is caused by the body not being able to use insulin properly. Similarly, Rekans Bara Sinosi, that is, she is a Persian scientist, and she has to her credit the discovery of HIV as the cause of immunodeficiency disease. In year 2008, Bara along with Lau Montague discovered that HIV retrovirus attacked lymphocytes, a blood cell that plays an important role in the body's immune system. Her work also helped millions of people who have HIV positive to live long, healthy lives and could pave the way for cure in the near future. Now, coming to the Indian diaspora, I would like to mention about Rajeshwari Chatterjee, who was Indian scientist and worked as the first engineer from Karnataka. During her tenure at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, Chatterjee was a professor and later chairperson of the Department of Electrical Communication Engineering. Now, similarly, Asima Chatterjee, she was the first graduate of chemistry from Scottish Church University College of Calcutta in 1936. Her notable work includes research on vinyl alkaloids that are derived from periwinkle that is known for anti-cancer properties, and she developed anti-epileptic and anti-malarial drugs also. Similarly, Anandiben Gopalrao Joshi was the first Indian woman physician. Although she has gone through a long ordeal of life in her early life stage, but her determination earned her the degree, because after the death of her newborn, she was inspired to become a physician. Her husband encouraged her to study medicine abroad, and she studied at Women's Medical College, Pennsylvania in 1886 as well. This was the first women's medical program worldwide. Similarly, I would like to mention about Janaki Ammal, who was the first Indian scientist to have received the Padma Shri Award in 1977. She pursued scientific research in cytogenetics, a branch of genetics that is concerned with how the chromosomes can relate to the cell behavior, and phytogeography that is concerned with the geographic distribution of the plant species. Amal's most renowned work is on sugarcane and brinjals. Similarly, Kamla Sohani, again, she was the first female student of Professor C.V. Raman, who was then ISC Bangalore director. Due to her excellent performance, Raman gave her the permission to pursue the further research. She discovered that every cell of a plant tissue contained an enzyme, that is the cytochrome C, which is involved in the oxidation of all plant cells. Similarly, about Dr. Aditi Pant, our previous speakers have mentioned she was a successful oceanographer, and she is the first Indian woman to visit Antarctica as well in 1983. She did her PhD in Westfield College of London University. Her PhD thesis was based on the physiology of marine algae. She has worked at the National Institute of Oceanography and the National Chemical Laboratories also. Kalpana Chawla, we all know she was one of the crew members who died in the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster on February 1, 2003. Though she was the first to obtain a Master of Science degree in Aerospace Engineering from the University of Texas at Arlington in 1984 and earned a second master's in 1986 and a PhD in Aerospace Engineering in 1988 from the University of Colorado Boulder. Now referring about Dr. Indira Hinduja, who has a doctorate degree in human in vitro fertilization of and embryo transfer from the Bombay University. Dr. Hinduja is a renowned gynecologist who has pioneered in the gamete intra-fallopian transfer technique, resulting in the birth of India's first gift baby on January 4, 1988. Prior to this, she delivered India's first test tube baby at KAME Hospital at August 6, 1986. She is also credited for developing an oocyte donation technique for menopausal as well as premature ovarian failure patients, giving the country's first baby out of this technique on January 24, 1991. These were the few eminent scientists from abroad as well as from our own country. Now here I would like to share one graph that represents the comparison of female scientists in Africa, Asia, and as well as the Pacific countries. If we consider the percentage of our own country in comparison to other countries of Asia, Africa, and Pacific, we see that it is almost 13.46 of women in scientific diaspora in India. So now these descriptions about few women scientists at national and international level, and along with graphical presentation, we really have to focus on the development of women in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, to conclude on this about my talk, I would like to share few points. The dawn of 21st century is marked by a clear message that the sustainable transformation through the knowledge as a driving force for human development is the need of our knowledge of the science leading to the industrial revolution and important technological capabilities is driving and opening up new production avenues. Academies can give a major thrust world over to create a knowledge-based society with full involvement of women scientists, technologists, to create a strong, sustainable science and technology base, which will affect all the social levels. The last point is the intellectual capital of half of the human resource on the planet Earth, that are the women, should be an integral part of the accelerated science and technology drive towards the progress, peace, and happiness of the humanity. Finally, I would like to conclude with the remarks from Katherine Johnson, a NASA research mathematician, that we will always have STEM with us. Something will drop out of the public eye and will go away, but there will always be science, engineering, math, and technology, and there will always be mathematics. Thank you. Thank you all for your patient hearing.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. With your valuable time, you made the program a success. Thank you very much, ma'am. May I now request Principal of our college, Dr. Arun Kumar Dikshit, sir, to kindly deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Charu Chaturvedi ji. Before I begin, I would offer my deep homage to late Dr. Nagen Swarup ji, who has been instrumental in revolutionizing education in the region. He had been an unfailing inspiration for us to promote and advance the cause of education and readily supported innovative ideas by extending every help to their effective execution. He is no more amongst us, but his charisma and affable personality will always inspire and guide us to give the best to upscale the level of education. Respected President of the event, Madam Kumkum Swarup ji, Secretary Board of Management of our college and also the council member of ISCA. Respected Chief Guest at the event, Professor Nilima Gupta ji, Vice Chancellor, HS Gaur University, Sagar, Madhya Pradesh. Respected Special Guest at the event, Dr. Ranjana Agrawal ji, Director CSIR, NISCARE, New Delhi. Respected Vijay Lakshmi Saxena ji, General President ISCA. Respected Engineer Gauraven Swarup ji, Joint Secretary, Board of Management, DAV College, Kanpur, and also Executive Member of ISCA, Kanpur Chapter. Respected Dr. A.K. Saxena ji, Convener, ISCA, Kanpur Chapter. Respected Dr. S.K. Srivastava ji, Treasurer, ISCA, Kanpur Chapter. Respected invited speakers at the event, Dr. Aparna Roy, Senior Scientist at CIFRI Barakpur, West Bengal, and Professor Sudha Yadav ji, Head of Department of Chemistry, DDU University, Gorakhpur, and Coordinator of the event, Dr. D.P. Rao ji, and other dignitaries and participants. I am feeling privileged to offer my vote of thanks to all of you for making the event of the webinar on a very special topic on the auspicious day of half of the humanity truly memorable and enlightening. It was a very engaging discourse, and we all remained riveted throughout the session to the inspirational stories of women achievers in the field of science and technology. Today's woman is no more the stereotypical individual confined to walls of restrictions imposed by patriarchal society. They have broken the shackles of mindless fetters and are out there to march forward shoulder to shoulder with men in fields of all human endeavors. They have left their blazing imprints not only in the fields of humanities, but have also aborted their shyness at thresholds of laboratories to glitter and dazzle in the fields of science and technology as well. From the fields of medical science to engineering, from astronomy to geology, from computer science to information technology, from genetic engineering to genomics and whatnot, women have made spectacular achievements everywhere. with their entry to combat battalions of armed forces, where they are manning heavy artilleries and fighter jets too. The women have broken the last male-dominated bastion as well. Our seasoned resource persons have touched upon almost every aspect to do full justice with the topic of the virtual seminar. Nonetheless, I am feeling encouraged to tell one more story on women's enterprising endeavors. Somewhere I had read a very inspiring story on women scientists whose seminal contribution heralded the revolutionary age of computers. ENIAC, the first programmable electronic computer, was produced during Second World War by a team of engineers that included 6 women scientists. It is hard to visualize a world without computers, and their indispensability to modern human life cannot be denied. Entire technological prowess of modern times rests on this singular innovation that had signature inputs by women. I once again thank and laud all my distinguished guests who made the event a big success, and rest here with a note that gender biases and stereotypical perceptions of women shall end, and we shall transform into an egalitarian society, respecting and protecting dignity of all. It would be quite relevant to quote Manusmriti on importance of women in our society, which reads as Yatra naryastu pujante ramante tatra devta. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
With that, today the program ends. Here, please stand up for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता
जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
भारत माता की
जय।
चारू मैम। चारू मैम अनाउंस द एंड ऑफ प्रोग्राम।
अब आज का वेबिनार यहीं समाप्त होता है। सभी को धन्यवाद।
सब मीटिंग इन